Hi everyone. A couple of years ago I had a toolkit stolen. It had about $2,500 to $3,000 of tools and expensive film industry meters in it. Now in this episode of Gaffer Gear I'm going to run you through some of the lessons I learned from that experience, and in particular things you can do to make dealing with the insurance company a lot faster and a lot easier. Now, when I phoned up my insurance company, everything was going to look smooth and easy because I had my police report saying that I'd been broken into and that my equipment had been stolen. So they were pretty straightforward. They said, look, just give us an estimate of the replacement cost and we'll send you some payment. Then they found out that it was $2,500 to $3,000, and that's when things started to get a little bit interesting. They wanted proof of ownership, and that's fair enough. They want to make sure this stuff actually existed and I'm not just trying to make a grab for cash. Now, I spent the next, I think it was 2 to 3 days, trolling through receipts, trying to find receipts for everything that had been stolen. So that was quite difficult in itself. Now, here's a big bit of advice I've got for you. Take a photo of your entire toolkit. So one photo that shows everything in it. So one reason is you can refer to that photo when you're making your shopping list or making a list of what's been stolen. Now, here's the other reason. In Australia, I don't know what it's like in the rest of the world if you're watching this overseas. In Australia, most insurance companies will take this photo as proof of ownership. They totally understand that you might have a hammer and you might have bought that hammer 20 years ago. It's unrealistic to expect that you're still going to have the receipt. So they will take a photograph as proof of ownership. But there are a couple of guidelines with these photographs. Number one, you must have at least one photograph with everything that's in the kit in that one photo. Now, your photos also need to be unedited. In particular, they must have the original metadata. The metadata will prove to the insurance company that the time and the date that the photo was taken, and they can even, if you took it with a mobile phone, they can even look into that metadata, find the GPS location, and confirm that that photograph of that kit was actually taken at your home. Now, also take photos of each individual item. And make sure in those photos that you show the brand name, the model number, and any serial numbers. Now, if you don't have proof of ownership, I couldn't find receipts for some of the items. Some insurance companies, particularly ones dealing with film and television, will let you buy a replacement product with your own money. And then you present them with the receipt and they will reimburse you. Now, that's totally fair. So you're out of pocket initially, but it's totally fair from their point of view. They're making sure you're not just doing a grab for cash. You know, you're buying things that you said were stolen and out of your own money, and then they reimburse you. That proves that you need these tools and you're not just claiming these tools existed when they didn't and getting a cash payment from them. Now, my next bit of advice for proof of ownership is keep your receipts. Now, that sounds pretty obvious, right? Because you need to keep your receipt for tax purposes. But what I'm talking about is in 5 or 7 years' time from now, when the tax office no longer requires you to keep that paperwork, don't throw it straight in the bin or shred it. Go through it and find the receipts for your big ticket items. You don't want to have a lighting truck stolen with a $20,000 light in it and the insurance company goes, hey, look, before we pay you $20,000, we want some proof that you own this, and you go to them, well, I threw that paperwork out 7 years ago. You know, keep your big ticket item receipts for as long as you own the item. Now, here's the next trap that a lot of people fall into. If you get a money payout from your insurance company, it doesn't include GST. So if you're buying a $1,000 item that has $100 GST on it, the insurance company only pays you that $1,000. You've got to come up with the other $100 yourself. So that can be a bit of a shortfall. Now, you're not necessarily out of pocket. By the time you get to your end of business quarter and you do all of your tax documents, you're going to get that money back to you. But it can be a shortfall in the meantime. Now, what if it's a big ticket item? What if it's a $60,000 camera that's been stolen? So to replace that, you've got $60,000 for the camera and $6,000 in sales tax. Where are you going to get that $6,000 from? Well, here's what you can do. You can go to your accountant, and your accountant can lodge for that one purchase to be GST exempt. Now, I didn't realize the insurance companies only covered the before tax cost and not the tax. So for the previous years that I had insurance, I was paying too much in premiums because I was also insuring the tax component. Now, I had to chat to my insurance company and I got a refund of the difference for the previous 5 years that I was insured. Now, insurance paperwork takes a long time to deal with, and you might have a shoot in 2 days' time. You can't wait for the paperwork to be done. You need the replacement equipment now. Have a chat to your insurance company. If they're film and television specialists, they understand that completely. So in my case, they let me go out and purchase replacement equipment straight away out of my own pocket, and then they reimbursed me later. Now, one thing that's very important is make sure you've got insurance cover that replaces your stolen item with the new current equivalent. So to give you an example of that, I had a color temperature meter stolen. The old style color temperature meter that just told you degrees Kelvin and plus or minus green. They're no longer manufactured, and that meter was worth about $700. Now the replacement for that is a color spectrometer, minimum price $2,000. So I honestly thought I was going to be massively out of pocket, but the insurance company replaced my old meter with the new current standard. Okay, so I've got all this stuff on the floor and I'm going to be packing it up. And as I do that, I'm going to be taking photos of all the individual items. Now at the same time, I'm going to film the next episode of Gaffer Gear, which is what do I have in my toolkit and why. See you soon.